Welcome back to Bad Attitude C10. Today we're going to go ahead and clean the front frame back up, touch up the paint that has been damaged during putting in the motor mounts and doing the mock-up for the engine and the headers. We got a little bit of the frame rail that we do need to trim back a hair for extra header clearance. And I figured I'd go ahead and take the clutch bracket off since we're running automatic and won't ever need it. So, stay tuned. So I got started by wiping all the dust off the frame. That's one of the bad side effects of living on a gravel road out in the country. Everything gets dirty as hell all the time. So started out by putting some rust reformer or rust encapsulator on our motor mounts in the areas that were welded for the motor mounts and the bracing on the front cage down bars. This is the clutch bracket I was referring to in the beginning of the video, and I figured since we're running an automatic and this truck's probably never going to change in its lifetime, at least when I have it, it's just there in the way, so I was going to remove it. So using a 4-inch grinder with a grinding disc on it, I started grinding the heads of the rivets down. Well, halfway through grinding the rivet heads off, I had to change grinders because the first one I was using overheated and wouldn't work. This heat right now we're having in Texas is horrible, and not to sound like a whiny ass, I mean it's knocking my cameras out and everything. So we'll get it done. As before, when we were removing rivets on the rear of the frame, if you remember, any time there were more than one piece of metal that the rivet would go through, sometimes it would actually swell out between the two pieces of metal too. So I had to grind the rivet down a little further, and don't move a lot of metal off the frame. Just get it to where you can see the ring around where the rivet is, and then just love tap it with a hammer, and if it moves, it'll be good to go. With the clutch bracket removed, I went on ahead and cleaned up the top surface a little bit, and then I started concentrating on the inner frame rail. Now our header's cleared and everything looked good, but there is a curve in the header that is almost touching the front curve that's in the frame, and this little recessed portion of the frame, what I did was just kind of elongated a little bit and took the shoulder off the curve and made it more like a ramp area instead of an angle. Once that was done, I went on ahead and wiped it down real quick and used a little more of the rust reformer or a rust encapsulator, whichever one you want to prefer to call it, to seal it off and prevent any rust from, coming up in the future. I went on ahead and put like a second coat of the rust encapsulator on the motor mount welds and all that stuff just to be safe, and I'll get ready for paint. I then began blowing all of the dust and I guess you say grinding disc material and stuff like that, and dirt off the frame again, to prep and begin taping off everything that I didn't want to get kind of overspray on or anything like that. And I used, and I forgot to get a picture of it, but it is chassis paint called Iron Horse, I believe, chassis paint that I picked up at Harbor Freight. I apologize for the wobble vision, guys, but here is what the, I guess the final product, I guess we'll say, looks like. And I think it looks a lot cleaner and everything like that with that clutch bracket gone off the frame back there. And the radius that I put in on the frame to clear the headers ought to be pretty good. So, there we go. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll get into putting this motor and transmission together and making them and getting all the stuff done, and we'll see you next time. As always, please like and subscribe.